Imagine yourself on a journey, not unlike those undertaken by great minds of the past. Yes, I'm talking about emblematic figures like Marco Aurelius, whose reflections on the ephemeral nature of life challenge us to look more deeply into our existence. And Lao Tzu, with his timeless wisdom about the transient nature of events. They teach us something fundamental. Everything around us is in constant motion and change. The seasons succeed each other in an endless cycle, and even our reflection in the mirror reveals the marks of passing time. Now let me ask you, have you ever stopped to think that just like the world around us, our mental states are equally fluid? Those moments of intense joy, deep sadness, or even a passing irritation in traffic, they all come and go like clouds in the sky. These fluctuations, my dear listeners, are what we commonly call mood swings. These changes can be as capricious as the weather, alternating between calm and storm without warning. Have you ever wondered where these emotional fluctuations come from? Are they merely reactions to everyday setbacks, like an unanswered email or a longer than expected wait in the coffee line? Or is there something deeper, ingrained in our being, that influences these emotional tides? Throughout the centuries, philosophers of all eras have pondered these questions, offering perspectives and solutions as varied as their origins. And in this video, I invite you to explore with me the mood swings through the lens of philosophy. Together, we will navigate these waters, sometimes turbulent, other times serene, seeking to understand not only what makes us feel as we feel, but also how we can find balance amidst emotional storms. And if everything around us and within us is constantly changing, wouldn't that be the true essence of life? The ability to transition between different emotional states, recognizing their temporariness, may be one of the greatest teachings that philosophy has to offer us. So, as we embark on this exploration, I invite you to reflect on your own experiences with mood swings. What external or internal factors do you notice influencing your emotions? How do you deal with these variations? After all, understanding our own emotions is the first step toward a more balanced and fulfilling life. Prepare for a journey that promises not only to expand your understanding of yourself and the world around you, but also to offer practical tools to navigate emotional waves with greater serenity and wisdom. Together, we will discover how to turn mood swings into allies, learning from the teachings of great thinkers and applying these lessons in everyday life. So, are you ready to dive into this sea of knowledge and discoveries? Come, the journey promises to be both revealing and transformative. Imagine for a moment that you are living your own version of an epic, not unlike those sung by bards and poets of bygone eras. One day, you find yourself riding with the wind, in harmony with the universe, much like a river flowing freely and unobstructed in its course. The setbacks, however they may appear, are like minor stones that only cause small ripples on the surface of your tranquility. Your spirit, unmoving and serene, resembles an imposing mountain that observes, unshaken, the storms forming around it. However, just like in any great saga, the winds change without warning, and the hero finds himself in the midst of a storm, fighting against tides that insist on throwing him against the rocks. That same life that once shone under a radiant sun now seems like a dark labyrinth, where every step is a test of his resilience and will to overcome. The challenges of everyday life, once minor obstacles, now turn into giants, ready to crush his peace with overwhelming weight. The abrupt transition from a state of contentment to one of discouragement may seem like a curse from the gods, handpicked to test your resilience. Why, you wonder, does this storm of misfortune seem to descend upon you with such ferocity, while others seem to sail on calm seas? But my friends, here lies a fundamental truth. It is precisely in this contrast, in this alternation between calm and storm, that the beauty and essence of the human journey reside. Wouldn't, after all, a narrative without challenges be a story without growth, without learning? So how can we, as protagonists of our own story, deal with these volatile changes? The answer, surprisingly, may be simpler and yet deeper than we imagine. It is about embracing impermanence, recognizing that just as storms do not last forever, moments of sunshine and tranquility will also pass. And here, I invite you to reflect. How can we cultivate a mind that not only endures, but welcomes these changes with serenity and wisdom? How can we learn to be like water, which adapts to every container, or like the mountain, which, though challenged by the elements, remains firm and imposing? The wisdom of facing life's emotional roller coaster lies not in avoiding falls, but in learning to rise with more strength and clarity after each stumble. And furthermore, in recognizing that each challenge, each shadow that seems to darken our path, is actually an invitation to grow, to strengthen ourselves, and above all, to understand ourselves and the world around us more deeply. Therefore, when the shadows deepen and you find yourself fighting against the currents, remember that you are the hero of your own story. And in every hero lies the innate ability to turn challenges into opportunities, shadows into light, and storms into rainbows. Mood swings occur in different degrees of intensity. Some are minor and fleeting, others have highs and lows as intense as a roller coaster, reaching peaks as high as Mount Everest, only to plummet to the depths of hell, where we experience significant and profound despair about life, which may even inhibit us from carrying out our daily activities. Some may even struggle to get out of bed. Mood swings are no joke. In the ups and downs of these highs and lows, we may do things we will later regret. When we are at the peak of euphoria, we can spend an absurd amount of money on things that we would never otherwise buy. On the other hand, during our lowest periods, we may wish we had never existed, and may engage in self-destructive behaviors as a misguided attempt to alleviate our pain. Therefore, mood swings, in many cases, are not just unpleasant, they can be highly self-destructive. Look at addictions, for example, which are essentially coping mechanisms for unpleasant and often turbulent states of being. That's why many people drink when they are depressed, but they also drink when they are very happy, for example, because they have something to celebrate. And mood swings not only wreak havoc on ourselves, but also affect others. It's not bad to vent about life with others from time to time, or to show our feelings, but continuous exposure to mood swings can harm relationships. As we often say, mood is contagious. And who wants to be around pessimists Pete and Debbie Downer all the time? Imagine yourself sailing on a vast and unpredictable ocean, where Lady Luck, this mythical and capricious figure, commands the tides of fortune and misfortune. She, with her volatile mood, symbolizes the unpredictable nature of existence, bringing to the fore the undeniable reality that, although we may try to shape our destiny, there are forces beyond our control that can turn the tide at any moment. Doesn't that sound familiar? Isn't that exactly how we feel when our mood changes without warning, as if we were at the mercy of something we cannot see but certainly feel? So why do our moods fluctuate so easily? The Stoics, with their timeless wisdom, propose an explanation that resonates deeply with our human experience. They talk to us about desire and aversion, these two powerful engines that drive our emotions and reactions to the world around us. Imagine for a moment that you are a sailor on the ship of life, and these two are the winds that fill your sails. Desire propels us towards what we want, towards what we think will make us happy, while aversion pushes us away from what we fear, from what causes us pain. But here's the central question. What happens when these winds blow in opposite directions? What occurs when what we desire seems as unattainable as avoiding what we fear is inevitable? That's when the sea churns and our moods oscillate. However, what if I told you there's a compass to navigate these stormy waters? Yes, that compass exists, and it lies in our ability to reinterpret and reassess our attitudes towards the circumstances we face. It's not the events themselves that shape our feelings, but the color we paint over them with our perceptions and reactions. Think about it. How many times have you found yourself upset or distressed by something that, in hindsight, wasn't as serious as it seemed? Or, on the other hand, how many times has happiness sprung from something simple that previously seemed insignificant? It's proof that although we may not always control the waves coming our way, we can learn to surf better. So how can we strengthen our ability to keep the helm steady, even when the storms of life try to veer us off course? The answer lies in developing a resilient and adaptable mind, one that knows how to find serenity not by the absence of problems, but by the way we choose to face them. So I invite you to reflect. What are the desires and aversions that have been guiding your boat? Are they taking you where you really want to go? Or is it time to adjust the sails? Guided by the unyielding logic of Epictetus, one of the sages who left us precious teachings on how to navigate life with more serenity and less emotional turbulence. His words resonate with a simple yet profound truth. Desire and aversion, these forces that push and pull us in opposite directions, have the power to shape our emotional state, for better or for worse. Imagine for a moment that you are in control of your own vessel in the vastness of the sea of life. You have a destination in mind, places you want to explore, treasures you hope to find. At the same time, there are storms you wish to avoid, dangerous reefs you want to steer clear of. Here Epictetus offers us a compass. To follow desire, he says, is like sailing towards the promise of finding what we seek, while aversion is the effort to avoid the dangers we fear. However, Stoic wisdom warns us of an inescapable truth. We don't always achieve the object of our desire, nor do we always manage to avoid what we are averse to. And it is in this clash between expectation and reality that disappointment and unhappiness find fertile ground. He who fails to obtain the object of his desire is disappointed, and he who incurs the object of his aversion, unhappy, Epictetus reminds us. The crucial point here is a liberating truth. The fluctuations of our mood, these internal storms we experience, originate in our own mind, in the way we perceive and react to life's circumstances. When our desires and aversions govern us, we become, in a way, slaves to circumstances at the mercy of the whims of fate. But what if we could look beyond this dynamic of desire and aversion? What if, instead of allowing these forces to drag us where they will, we learn to adjust our sails, to consciously choose our direction, regardless of the winds that blow? Instead of allowing our moods to be playthings of fate, we can choose to cultivate an attitude of acceptance and resilience. We can learn to embrace both moments of joy and adversity with a certain peace of mind, understanding that both are parts of the vast and complex tapestry of life. And furthermore, we can free ourselves from the idea that our happiness depends solely on external circumstances. True serenity comes from within, from our ability to maintain an equanimous attitude in the face of life's constant changes. So I ask you then, how can we begin to loosen the shackles of these desires and aversions that so limit us? What small steps can we take today to cultivate greater inner peace, one that is not shaken by the ups and downs of life? This is an invitation for you to reflect on the power of your own mind in creating a more peaceful and fulfilling life. It is a call to recognize that while we may not control the turbulent sea of fate, we can learn to be excellent navigators of our own lives. And thus, step by step, we can find paths to a more balanced existence, where mood swings become less violent storms and more like gentle waves that we learn to surf with skill and grace. Buddhism, a religion that arose approximately around the same time as Stoicism, would agree with the Stoics that our thoughts or minds cause what we feel. Our untamed minds jump from one thought to another, leading us to rumination, worry, and anxiety. Buddhists observe that the root of suffering, including our mood swings, lies in our attachments. We can see the connection between mood swings and attachment in different ways. First, we realize that similar to what the Stoics point out, if we cling to external things, such as other people, money, and material possessions, sooner or later we will face problems. The Buddha taught about the concept of anicca, or impermanence, which means that everything is transient. Therefore, clinging to external things leads us to suffering and can cause our mood to change. For example, when we lose someone we love, or just by thinking about the possibility of losing that person. But as everything is transient, the same happens with our mood. For some reason, we feel different at different times of the day. Unless you are enlightened, the 5 mental hindrances, desire, anger, lethargy, restlessness, and worry and doubt, will affect us. That's the bad news. The good news is that, as with everything in life, problematic emotions are impermanent. They arise, but they also disappear. And that's the nature of mood swings. Change, impermanence, transitoriness. Being excessively attached to good humor ends up leading to the worsening of a lower mood. It's like being hit by 2 arrows. First, the initial decline in mood, and secondly, dissatisfaction with that decline in mood. Considering the wisdom of the Stoics and Buddhists, let's take a closer look at the external circumstances to which we react. What exactly do we not like so much about the world that affects our mood? What makes us unhappy? For existentialist philosophers, the answer is obvious. It's the lack of meaning in all of this, the absurdity of existence, the human reality of living on a desolate rock in the middle of an indifferent universe with no specific reason. Of course, we feel terrible when we realize that our lives are worthless, especially when there is this absurd and irrational human desire for comprehensive meaning, which, and this is the tragic part, will forever remain unanswered. So we try to distract ourselves. We engage in work, telling ourselves that somehow it is meaningful. We meet someone attractive, we fall in love, and we convince ourselves that we have found the meaning of life in that person. Or we simply drink until we can no longer contemplate the lack of meaning of our lives. Others find answers in religion and adopt a belief system that alleviates their existential anguish. But from the existentialist point of view, there is a good chance that, at some point, the lack of meaning will stare us in the face again, reminding us that life has no meaning. Nothing we do matters in the grand scheme of things, that there is no salvation, no life after death. There is only existence. This idea suggests a great degree of freedom, as we are free to shape existence as we see fit. But it also implies the inherent lack of meaning in our existence. These recurring reminders of the lack of meaning of life, in conflict with a fierce desire for meaning, can cause profound despair. Another philosophical way of looking at mood swings is through Epicureanism. For the ancient Greek philosopher Epicurus, a mental state called ataraxia was the foundation of a happy life, which we could achieve by carefully managing our desires and not falling into irrational fears. For example, if we follow unnecessary and unnatural desires, we are treading an impossible path toward contentment. Our happiness requires the satisfaction of desires for things that are difficult to attain and maintain without a natural limit. An example of this is the pursuit of extreme wealth and fame. These things are fragile and difficult to achieve. We see that people who seek these things most of the time want more. When we earn 1 million, we want 2 million. But emotional instability lurks when we let our happiness depend on such unstable circumstances. Every little sign of loss of the fame and reputation we have, and these signs are inevitable, affects us. Add to this irrational fears, such as the fear of death, pain, or poverty, and we are set up for misery. In addition to our attitudes towards external circumstances, such as the meaning or lack thereof in life, there are other factors that can influence our mood. Do biological factors play a role in this? So far, the philosophical views we have discussed have argued that external factors and our attitude towards them affect our mood, whether it's the lack of meaning or fate. However, the behavior of our mood also depends on internal factors, such as biology and mental health issues. This is a complicated topic, as it is more related to psychology and neuroscience than philosophy, so let's approach it with caution. However, it is safe to say that internal factors, such as genetics or mental disorders, play a significant role in mood swings. These internal factors can trigger mood swings seemingly without reason. For example, a night of inadequate sleep usually has a negative impact on our mood. In cases like this, we often wake up feeling depressed without any specific external reason. Furthermore, there are mental illnesses such as borderline personality disorder and bipolar disorder, which cause emotional dysregulation during which mood tends to change extremely. And there is also biology, which makes some people genetically more prone to bad mood than others. Internal factors don't just cause bad mood because of body chemistry. They also influence how we relate to external factors. For example, a person with borderline personality disorder may react explosively to an external event, which people without the disorder would not do. Additionally, someone dealing with high sensitivity may be easily overwhelmed by external stimuli, which can negatively affect their mood. Therefore, to some extent, factors beyond our thoughts influence our mood, which seems to contradict what the Stoics propose. However, the Stoics recognize the existence of internal factors, such as mental illnesses and so-called pre-emotions, which cause involuntary responses. Margaret Graver describes this in her book, Stoicism and Emotions, mentioning that there are some responses below the threshold that are still not emotions, and also exaggerated responses that are no longer emotions, but belong to the category of mental illness. In the eyes of the Stoics, true emotions are solely the consequences of our reasoning. The problem with many of these internal factors is that they are often very difficult, if not impossible, to change. When it comes to genetics, for example, we have no choice but to deal with the cards we are dealt. Some are lucky in the genetic lottery, others are less fortunate. This is where the idea of determinism comes into play. Determinism suggests that all events, including our own actions, are determined by pre-existing causes. When we apply determinism to biology, we can argue that our genetic makeup largely decides our behavior and personality. For example, specific genes associated with a high risk of bipolar disorder increase the chances of individuals born with these genes suffering from this mental illness. Thus, the predisposition to extreme mood changes, from mania to depression, was written in the genetic code, determined biologically. It is part of what the Stoics call fate. Mood changes are complex. We are still discovering new things about how they work and what we can do about them. But whether emotional fluctuations result from biological factors or our attitudes towards circumstances, is there any wisdom from philosophy that can help us manage them? Many philosophers who shared their worldviews and reflections on meaning and purpose also offered suggestions on how to live. Epicurus, for example, suggested that we focus on simple and abundant pleasures as a means of contentment, as they are easy to obtain and satisfy. On the other hand, the Stoics promoted virtues such as modesty, self-control, joy, and honesty. Focusing on being good, which is under our control, leads to the best mental states. Buddhist monk Ajahn Nyanamoli shares interesting views on depression in one of his videos. He emphasizes the importance of recognizing that there may be external reasons influencing depression, but they are not the cause. Instead, depression is a mental state that influences how we perceive these external reasons. We can eradicate depression and any unpleasant mental state if we train our minds to be less entangled with circumstances. Throughout our journey, we have discovered together that mood swings are not mere whims of fate, but rather an intrinsic part of the human experience, spanning ages and cultures, touching the lives of everyone, from the most towering figures in history to the mythological characters that inhabit our oldest stories. It is a universal truth that regardless of our status, achievements, or power, we are united by this common condition, susceptibility to mood changes, this emotional ocean we all navigate. But what is fascinating and at the same time comforting is to realize, from the depths of Stoic philosophy to the latest advances in modern psychology, through rich and diverse religious traditions, we have an arsenal of strategies at our disposal. Each system of thought, with its practices and teachings, offers a unique path to achieving a state of emotional balance, whether through reflection and reassessment of our desires and aversions, as the Stoics teach us, or through the application of specific techniques of cognitive behavioral therapy that help us challenge and reshape our thoughts and behaviors. The goal is the same: to navigate more serenely through the waters of existence. And this quest for balance is not a solitary effort. History shows us that from emperors to artists, from monarchs to writers, many before us have walked this same path, facing their own internal storms. Even the deities, with their emotions and whims, reflect this aspect of the human condition, serving as mirrors of our own internal struggles. So as we conclude this journey today, I want you to remember that you are not alone. You are part of a long lineage of seekers, each with their own set of emotional challenges and their own strategies to face them. And that, in itself, is a reason for hope. Thank you for sharing this time with me, for diving into these reflections, and most importantly, for being open to walk with us on this journey in search of serenity, understanding, and personal growth. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel to help us. Until the next video, I wish you peace, strength, and smooth sailing through the waters of your life.